Hello, hello. Oh, so sorry. I think we're so late today. We had some technical issues. I don't know if there's anybody who um, is is joining. So I'm probably gonna see if I can make a post about it. Yeah, I'm just gonna make a post about it. Just let people know. Um, yeah. Just checking to see if there's anybody who's live. Um, and my guest will also be joining me soon. As I said, we've had technical issues. Uh, there he is actually. Hello, EJ.
Hello, Jonas. How are you?
How are you doing? Good to see you. Oh man, I was just telling the people that we had technical issues today, and really sorry for the delay in us joining. Um, yeah, how are you this morning though?
Pretty good. I left DC to Dubai, and being here for about another week, and we'll be heading to Switzerland after this. So
Wow. Okay, so you're in DC for a bit, and then you were in you came from DC. You're in Dubai right now?
yes, yeah,
Okay,
I was here since last week.
and then you're going to Switzerland.
Yeah, after another week in Dubai.
And I think this is one of the things that I've always found interesting is how much traveling you do because you have working with businesses all over the world, right? So in the past, and maybe this might be interesting for people who are joining us today. Um, how many countries have you been in the past, let's say 6 months?
Uh, oh, so many. Um, I basically travel around the world like about 5 to 6 times a year, and there's always some place in Europe or North Africa, Middle East area, and Asia most likely will be Eastern Asia, and US will be many different states like Texas, Florida, Vegas, New York, or Metro DC area.
Yeah. So for everybody that joined us, I see some people that are in the chat. I want to say hi to Deuce. I want to say hi to Christopher. I see Adonias is here as well. So welcome everybody. For some reason, I can't see how many people we have in total today. But if you are with us today, first of all, of course, again, sorry for that, for us being late. But at the same time, say hi to us, and then I'll say hi back as well. Um, so Iche and I, we met a while back, and as part of a CEO group, and so I thought it would be a really good thing, especially on the Canadian side. Um, there are a lot of startups that are looking to expand and grow into the US, or there are also people globally who are interested in opening up a company in the US. So Iche has been doing this for I don't know how long now. Like, how long have you been helping companies?
Probably about 15 years. We've been helping many entrepreneurs from overseas to start their business in the US, either through M&A or start from green or anything in between. There's many different ways to have a presence in the US. It really depends on the business need. So far, like each year, we support about 10 to 20 clients just as a business consultant, focusing on their business model, growth plan, and operational optimizations. Of course, the focus will vary, depends on the stage of the organization. Early stage growth point always important. Uh, but if it's considered an exit, so we're focusing on maximizing the valuation. Um, so it's really up to the client needs, and we will adjust the strategy.
Yeah, and one of the benefits, I guess, of somebody like me on this side is I don't have any idea about the entire process, so I can ask some very basic questions that other people that are listening can also relate with. So you said M&A. What is M&A?
M&A is merger and acquisition. So say, for example, a client we helped last year is a much larger corporation in Asia, and they want to have a U.S. Corporation in the U.S. so they can start manufacturing stuff. It's a defense company, so they won't have some parts manufacturing in the U.S. But if they start from scratch, we're taking a lot of time for a lot of certification and a lot of process with like a defense department or other commercial side like a Boeing, Lockheed Martin, or Rolls Royce. So M&A seems to be most um, making sense way for the company like that. So they will just acquire a company already a function operating in the U.S. So they can just purchase through like a stock purchasing or a different structure to have a major ownership or 100% ownership of the company, and they can start doing business in the U.S. as that company is all the history belong to them. So it's I would say the most efficient or the fattest way to starting the food in the U.S. was through M&A. But that's much larger ones. But for small ones, it's also making sense because they can saving some time to navigate the market and to already purchase the company that already within the operation that make them to be able to save some time in the meantime to focusing on grow to the next level.
Yeah. So this is the perks of working at home. I have my son who always comes and says hi to everybody these days. So hello,
You
hi,
want to say hi?
hi, hello. How are you doing?
Say hi. It's my son and my daughter.
Yeah, that is good to see you guys. My son does this all the time, so I'm almost used to it now. Where he comes in every meeting, he says hi, and even if in some of my recorded stuff, he's there. I'm like, this, we're working from home, so it's okay. Um, so I think that's a really good start. So first of all, of course, mergers and acquisition. That company already has a presence. That company already has a presence there, right? And you just acquire them, and then it works. Your kids being mischievous, I love it. So
Yep,
okay,
it's very
what
hard
are
for the kids. Um,
okay?
yeah.
So
So for example, right? I actually talking to about 300, a little bit over 300 entrepreneurs in many different countries that I visit in the past 12 months. We share business ideas and challenges. It's always fascinating to me that some later become my friends or advisory or compliance client. But it's really interesting. Like people have very similar mind as an entrepreneurs, and how to start a new business in a different market area. It's that's how I see this. A lot of time we will see a lot of different ranking saying like which place or which city, which country is the best for start a business.
yeah,
They all have a different criteria or different factor that they weigh in a little bit different, more or less here and there. But how I see for a small business owner, I think some are very important for like a survival rate and the number of new business. opportunity that the market provide to small business. Um, I think every business starts small, and the third one is that the value a society place on its people. I think this part is truly important, and I think this is being missed in so many different rankings. It's like if a society does not value its people, it will be a terrible starting point for small business, because small business, what we are, what we can offer to the market at the very beginning is us as a human beings, no matter what kind of service or product we plan to to sell to the market. And the last one would be the transparency and the easy government regulation. Those are the four things I think is important for a small business, small enterprise to choose their next location.
Okay. So, and this is something that happens a lot, or a lot of conversations I have on the Canadian side is many startups, whether it's funding, because of funding, maybe it's because, of course, the US has a much bigger client base. They want to have operations in the States. And so let's say a startup is looking to expand or start something in the States and they're funded. Okay. Let's assume they're funded. Um, what would be your suggestion for them, um, to what would be the steps that you would recommend them to take?
Got it. Okay. I think it's if it's funded, so I will consider for small business. The first one it will be the family and friends run, the seed run, right? Or start from very just by the savings or whatever. And the second one, which is a run, probably will start having the VC or more like an institutional to comes in. Um, so these two are, I think, will be truly the important for the small business. The first one, probably it would be a good time to focusing on the business itself. So don't get distracted by non-necessary function for the business. Say, for example, like accounting, tax, or those kind of back office function is definitely not the core for most of the business. So I wouldn't recommend any business owner to spend time on those. So finding the accounting firm or the advisory firm would be a good match. Um, but it's not necessary. It's not a must per se, because in the beginning may not have too much revenue, so accounting can be kind of like push a little bit further. Consider like in the beginning, every dollar, every business owner will want to like have the best use of the resources. But after the first round, after the A round, the institution comes in, I think that will be start definitely going to engage with a professional firm as the compliance or the outside investor. JV will want to see like a financial, if it's not audit, maybe review, or even just as little as compose of the financial statement would be also helpful.
Okay. So I'm still coming at it from a very from like I'm imagining, let's say I want to expand, right? So let's say you wanted to incorporate in the United States. Can you do it as um, a foreign citizen?
Yes. Um, I think one of the benefit of US is it's very welcome for basically almost of the people coming to do business, other than the if it's of course the terrorist or the money laundry. These are the two part will definitely make sure it's not touching. Other than those two, it's almost welcome to anybody coming in, and you don't need any kind of visa to start a business in the U.S. The visa sometimes I notice people will get confused. at like if I can work in the US or if I can start a business in the US. Start a business is for everybody, but start to working in the US maybe require much more visa or the legal documentation. But it's definitely welcome to have a business start for everybody, especially people from Canada. It's very, very smooth in
O-
terms of process.
Okay, so you go, are there platforms or different things that help you, let's say, incorporate in the States, and then maybe get a associated bank account in the States? Are there things that facilitate that process, or would you typically go through like an accounting firm?
I think start from accounting firm will definitely make the process much smoother, but it's not necessary to engage any professional team, as it is very transparent, put this way. No matter which state you choose in the end, um, they all can be done online. It's just like if it's foreign from a foreign country's business owner will require longer time and more document to facilitate the whole process. But it can be done by oneself.
Okay, you can even do it yourself. So, um, I hope we're answering some of the questions that you have. Anybody who's joining us, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I see Kadus saying, anybody else having problems with the connection? Um, if anybody else is having problems, let us know. If there's anything we can do to fix it on our end, if there's issues on our end, please let us know. And then, of course, if you have any questions, right, just please put them in the chat, and then I'll be happy to ask Iche who's with us today. Um, so I guess the next kind of question I have is tax implications, right? What would be some of the tax implications when you open up an entity in the United States? What would be the tax implications?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. As everybody can know, maybe already know that U.S. is a global taxation country. It's very lucky for a foreign owner. Um, they only responsible for the revenue or the income coming from U.S. source. So that means their personal income around the world is not subject to U.S. taxation. So it's much simpler. So as long as they are considered a foreign person in U.S. income tax taxation, they are okay. They don't need to. They have no requirement to disclose their worldwide income. They only need to disclose and comply with its own company within in the U.S. It can be their subsidiary of their mother company in Canada or in any other countries. So it can be like a C corporation, LLC, partnership, or anything in between will be all okay.
Perfect. Actually, a question came in. So Kidus is saying, what kind of businesses does the US encourage? Kind of start up from abroad, open up shop in the US, or is it just multinational corporations? And maybe to even give you a bit more context, some of the people that are joining are going to be from Ethiopia. So they're probably thinking, okay, I'm in Ethiopia. Can I actually open up a business and have an entity in the United States as a company or a startup? Might be a bit closer to the heart of the question. What are your thoughts, Iche?
Yes. In terms of the business, what does business encourage? I think U.S. encourage all kinds of business, and because of its market is probably still the largest in the whole world, and U.S. people, U.S. consumers, no matter it's a business or regular middle class or upper class or whatever the market you are targeting, they all like spending. So it make the market become very welcome to any kind of business owner. Um, But if you saying like what type of the formation is encouraged, I would say like a lot of people like LLC, which is a pass-through entity. For foreigners, maybe a little bit different because there's uh, no U.S. person, but overall it's still lower tax and easier um, compliance matter. But if you consider like later we'll have a lot of the investor comes in or different partnership potentially, then I would say for foreign business owner, start with a C corporation will probably a good starting point, and don't feel like a C is much more expensive than LLC. From the formation wise, it may be very similar. It's more like in the future operation phase, C will have a more require from the state government or the federal government level, but it's still doable if the company remain small. It can be done by one person. It's only when it's become much larger in terms of operation, then that will be the time you have the professional engage.
Yeah, and actually, even today, I'm learning a lot because sometimes the gap in knowledge or awareness is the biggest challenge, right? If you're very new to it, from Canada opening up something in the United States, having an entity, especially if you start having a lot of clients in the US, it simplifies your process to have something in the US that for taxes, etc., as opposed to working it between having entities, an entity in Canada. I've seen some things um, about where you incorporate in the states, right? I've heard some things about um, some place next to New York. I forget what the name is. They're always saying, "Oh, you should incorporate in this."
Oh, Delaware.
Delaware, yeah, you should always incorporate in Delaware and a few other places. And tell me about that. Why do people say that?
Um, Delaware is very very famous, um, but I think most people use it in the wrong way or they have a different expectation. Delaware is very good because of tax their business court. Delaware legal system is a little bit different than any other states. Their business dispute, whenever there is contract matters between two business or business and consumer, they are very efficient. And I think that's why corporation overseas or even just in the US, they like Delaware a lot because it's much faster. Because for a business, the time is truly the value. Nobody want to waste time in any kind of dispute, and Delaware in that part is the probably the best in the whole U.S. Compared to any other states. However, for a lot of the business owner, especially a small business owner, those kind of thing is not their major concern. There's a lot of different priorities, put this way. So actually, I would encourage people to explore different options. For example, consider Wyoming would be also a good starting point, or one of the state that you intend to visit or to even purchase a real estate or maybe even moving there or spend some time like a couple months every year. I think those are all the place worth to take a look.
Oh, that's such good tips. So you mentioned, for example, a place where you might want to visit. Let's say you open up a business in Wyoming, right? And you start having some clients there. Would that potentially help you to secure a visa, saying, "Hey, I have a business that I've incorporated in Wyoming. I have some clients in Wyoming already. I'm trying to make a business trip and come and visit them." Would Do you think that would help your case in a sense?
Yes, it absolutely will help, especially if that's a business that you intend to use. after you consult with your legal, your attorney in terms of immigration or non-immigration visa status. Either way, I think will help. But that you can start the business in any states. I think for the business owner perspective, where which place is the best for the business is more important than which place is best in general, because every business the needs is different. Say some company require a lot of talents, and those talents is much easier to find in certain states. I think that's probably the number one, because talent, without talent, as a business owner, we cannot really do too much. Or if it's a local business, and which states the population, the demographic is most welcome for that kind of specific business. I think that's truly important to form the business over there. Um, for example, there's a person that I met in my trip in Vegas, a couple weeks ago. Uh, she's kind enough to share with me her business ideas. It's like a combined alternative medicine with nutrition, meditation. It's like provide a holistic approach to client health improvement. So those kind of business, I think it's very good for the people in metropolitan area. First, they have the money to pay, and they are willing to pay, and they probably more like in a sub health condition, so they can really see the value of it. And um, or like it can be developed to a franchise, a licensing a clinic model, or with a certification issue available, like through online or on-site course, complementing what's missing in the current market offerings, or telemedicine, personalized health plan with AI. I think those are also very, very good and potentially very popular in the next 5 years or so, as AI grows so fast, and so many development. Almost like every week we can hear on the news like something new being offered on the market today. And I think those are be also very good. And in the US, there's also the benefit compared to other countries. I would say there's a lot of opportunity offered to the small business, and a lot of the large corporation also very welcome the their mindset is welcome to cooperate with a smaller business owner, because there's a lot some of the policy will encourage government encourage the society in general is also welcome that kind of the cooperation. So um, this can also further enhance the credibility for this type of business. And and she actually living in London right now, and potentially starting there, and talking about, we discussed a little bit, maybe she will starting expand the concept to the US, like in the East Coast, Boston, New York,
Yeah,
Washington DC. I think
yeah.
those are all good.
I totally agree. Like I think you raised a very good point. One is find the talent. The second is find where your clients are, right? So if it's more metro for her business, it makes a lot of sense. So for anybody listening, it's like another consideration to have. If you have a company, um, addition to like the tax implications, or where you want to be, you also need to think, where are my clients? And that might be the best place to open up your business. And I have a new question coming in from Kiribet. He says, what material would you recommend to go over to understand US taxation? And then the other question he has is, what is your experience with products such as Stripe, Atlas, and Firebase? Which platform would you recommend? So I'll tackle the last question first, and then you can also pitch in, Iche. I think a lot of these platforms for payment and your backend, etc. So, and I'm not a technical. My background is not in software, but I'll just tell you from what my experience working with software developers. And a lot of it is what banking system and taxation it connects to is a more important question versus the technology. The technology, you can use whatever you want. At the end of the day, though, what banking are you connecting it to is one question, right? But let's say if it's Stripe, what are you connecting it to? So if you're incorporated in the US, you have a US bank account, you can connect it, which simplifies everything for you, right? And then some banking, Stripe might not even accept those connections, right? So it might not be available in your chosen country. So once you lay the foundation of your company and being incorporated in a place where this is going to be easy to do, it's just a technical thing. It's just connecting it. So I think from a technical point of view, the back end of um, your banking system matters more than the actual, technology or platform that you use. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please um, let me know, and then I'll uh, give it over to you, Iche. It didn't show up in our chat here because sometimes it's delayed. I'm reading it off straight from LinkedIn. That's why.
Got it. Um, that's a good question. Um, to me, I think it's a very interesting time at this age. In the meantime, there's tons of information online. No matter it's a website, YouTube, or Facebook, whatever you like it, there's always a lot of information, and a lot of them are conflict with each other, or they are missing some of the limitation requirement or some exception. So, and in a short format, it's really hard to cover a very comprehensive or start from a very broad view. So I will probably more leaning toward like reading a book, like talking about, say, company taxation, like LLC taxation, LLC tax filing, or 1040 as an individual tax filing, or if you don't want to do any of this, IRS actually publish a lot of the guide online on their website. You can just search like keyword, for example, say IRS publication LLC. Then you will see IRS consider like a guidance for everybody will follow. They will give you a view for what's important there. So after that, you have a basic understanding, and if you see any kind of article or a YouTube video, you will have at least certain base to see to tell. Okay, this is making sense, or this is kind of like too good to be true. In text, if it sounds like too good to be true, it tend to be too good to be true. So you need to be extra cautious to proceed.
Yeah, and I think some of the taxes, um, and even for my business, um, the problem with taxes is sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So having an accountant handle it for the most part is the wise choice, I would say. Uh, and it's not particularly cheap. You probably end up paying anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000 a year for an accountant, depending on the size of your business, what you're doing, etc. From $1,000 to handle your taxation, and of course, the bigger it is going to be a very chunky amount. But for very small businesses, I think somewhere between $1,000 to $2,000, you can get somebody to help with your taxes and handle everything where you don't get involved. You always, it becomes very technical, right? And you have to know the ins and outs. So even accountants have found sometimes um, some of them specialize in tax, and they say, hey, we don't really do taxes. I'm an accountant, but I don't do taxes there. So you go to a specialized tax accountant sometimes. So that would be my suggestion. Okay, Kiribel updates his question. Perfect. Stripe, the premium process, also gives the following service. What type of book do you think we should read? Because the information out there is overwhelming. 100%. I think um, that is the challenge of the modern world we live in, is we have too much information and we don't know which one is accurate. And that's what Iche mentioned a while ago. So are you saying that Stripe facilitates taxes and also helps you open up an entity in the United States? maybe I think I need to understand that more. Kiribel, if please let us know, because at this point I'm not sure um, what the question would be. So, are you saying that Stripe helps companies have an entity in the United States? Are you saying Stripe acts like a bank? Please clarify, and then we'll be happy to speak into that. Um, yeah, so I mean, there's something that comes up a few times here and there, and that is about startup visas. That is about business owner visas into the United States. Where you can, if you have X amount of money, or you can show that you have the capacity to start a business in the United States. I've heard that there are visa programs available. Is that true? Like, can you speak a little bit about that?
Yes. Um, there are two major different type of category. One is a immigration visa. One is a non-immigration visa. Um, and as you can imagine, the immigration type will require much more documentation, much higher investment amount, and all the like experience, education, background will be all much thorough in terms of requirement. However, I actually thinking there's another one is much better for the entrepreneur, which is a E2 visa. E2 visa. I know some of you are not from Canada or can be from any other countries. So I encourage you to just Google online, just type E2 visa and your country's name, and you will see if your country is considered treaty country with US. It's basically saying like it's valid for 5 years, non-immigration visa, and the spouse can work in the US legally, no problem, any company, and the applicant, the primary applicant, will need to work for the company that he intend to start, and any unmarried children under 21 can be treated as U.S. persons, and the investment amount is about 200K USD, and own at least 50% of the business. That's about it, and this visa can renew every 5 years. In certain country, the treaty year is 3 years, so you renew every 3 years. And we have client renew several times, so it's like almost 20 years. And they can just stay in the U.S. as long as they wish. And if they don't, they don't need to come, and the visa is still valid. So I think this offer the a tremendous value and very flexible, especially for people with a lot of asset, because they may not want to be a U.S. tax person, but they also want to have their own business, and they want to stay in the U.S. whenever they want to, and this visa can let them come come into the U.S., become a U.S. tax person, but at certain years or at certain point of time they decide not to continue, they can become foreigner again, so they don't need to pay worldwide income. So that point alone, I think, make E2 visa become very attractive to many of the people.
Wow, that's such good information. I think, especially if you can get to that level of assets, then it's such a good way to get into the US and be free to work and live, etc., etc. So that's such a good feedback. So Caribbean came back. Okay, so apparently Stripe helps create banks and entity in the United States. Okay, I mean, I guess and if each of you know more, you can speak about this. Um, but I would say like Stripes is a very well known, almost a household name at this point. Typically, if they have a process for what they're doing, I personally would trust it, right? Like I would feel very comfortable to open up a corporation through Stripe, if that is the service they're providing. I would do it 100%. Always the consideration is starting the company or having an entity in the States is the first step. Down the line, you'll always have to think about the tax man. Always, the tax man is there's two things that are guaranteed: is death and taxes, as they say. So, you have to make sure, once you have the entity, whenever your reporting is for that period, like, it's going to be a year, whatever that number is. Make sure you get your taxes in with the IRA. Is that what it's called in the US? On our side, it's the Canada Revenue Agency, it's the CRA. So you don't want to get in trouble with the tax man always. Just make sure that you get set up. What is good. Thank you for the information. I think everybody else on this call can benefit as well. So, um, okay. So, what do you think, Iche? Is this interesting to you that Stripe is doing this?
I think those are all very, very great company, and the service is all very great. Um, just sometimes I have some people coming to me, and uh, from those service, I think one thing to keep in mind would be nice is because they are considered much more efficient and much lower cost. So many of time it's hard to find any real human beings to answer your question or to solve your question in a more efficient way. They may need to transfer to many different people, and each time may be a little bit handling by different persons. But I think that's it's like a package. That's what we enjoy as a consumer. So there's something missing in that part. But otherwise, overall, I think it's a great option to start.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like they simplify and streamline the process, but then if you're definitely looking for more help, then it's gonna be challenging. So that's really good. So I guess I feel like we've covered so many good pieces today. And if you have your Clearbit says, "Yep, tax thing is the biggest thing," and thank you for your insight, both of you. Well, of course, happy to help, and I'm thankful to have Iche with me today, so you can answer some of these questions as well. So. Yeah, any other questions, please put them in the chat, and we will answer them as we go along. And uh, I guess the next thing I want to explore is, um, yeah, maybe a bit of a deviation why we wait for people to answer questions that they may have is what's next for Iche? Like, I know you've been in business for a very long time, you know, uh, traveled all over the world. Um, I guess let me ask this in two parts. The first is, what is your absolute most favorite city to travel to as a business person? Okay, you start with that, and then we'll go to the next question.
um, oh, that's a very, very tough question because there's
Okay,
so
I'll give you top three or top five. Maybe that will help you. You know,
there's so many places I like, and the people are amazing in because I talk to a lot of entrepreneur, or the people want to be their own boss, determine their future. So it's always amazing to talk to people, and but I would say like I really like Metro DC area, DC, Maryland, Virginia. There's a lot of the entrepreneur vibe and very open to many different people, and of course a lot of larger cities metropolitan in the US is also very welcome for small business. But I think one thing is very important is to make sure that the cost and the market is what you can handle, the business can handle, because you can imagine some of the metropolitan can be very expensive to maintain the business, especially if your business is like a have a real shop, retailing or a franchise. Those could be facing a lot of regulation and different compliance needs. But overseas, now I travel a lot to Taipei and to Dubai. Both cities are also very nice. Um, yeah, Tokyo, Switzerland, Zurich, Geneva. Um, yeah, there's tons of places amazing. But I definitely want to say, as a person that travel like many trips to many countries, I do feel like it's I learn a lot from just by traveling alone. I see a lot of different things that if I weren't there, if I weren't able to talk to those people directly, I probably would never know there, or I probably would never be able to have a new business idea. Um, People around the world do have their own perspective and their experience, their expertise, and their different culture, and waiting us to talk to them. And it's a very uh, mutual beneficial. I was there like a lot of people are, for me, a lot of people talk to me regarding the U.S. compliance matter, especially tax. You can imagine. For example, in Dubai, I've been in Dubai like maybe 7 times or 8 times in the past 12 months. Each time I stay like 2 to 4 weeks. I talk to so many people, including accountant, but I haven't met any accountant or any business owner really know U.S. taxation. So you can imagine the needs for your expertise or your service may be huge in many different countries, and something you take for granted in your own home country or in your hometown may be very exotic for a lot of different people, and those are all our opportunity, I would say.
Oh, I mean, that is so true on so many levels. I think even today, we're having this conversation about being able to open an entity in the United States. For many parts of the world, this might be very surprising news. What you can just, not you don't have to be there in person, but you can through different agents open up an entity. Let's say you can start a software development business based out of in the US. As long as you can figure out a ways to acquire those clients, you can figure out what how to make it work. And one thing I would say, just thinking through what Kirubel was saying as well, um, is you can always also lean into the diaspora community, right? So if you, let's say you're from, I don't know, Taiwan, right? So like, and you want somebody's help to do taxes, you can always reach out into your community of diasporas that are in the US who are doing tax, because you can communicate. They understand the local context, and then they also understand the US context. So sometimes you can get help with familiar people, right? You may potentially get a discount as well. I imagine an Ethiopian living in the US and the DC. I know there's a lot of them in the DC metropolitan area, like a tax accountant might give you a bit of a discount just because you're an Ethiopian, right? So there's always like these creative ways of trying to, make these kind of things work. But to your point, EJ, when you travel is sometimes when you know and start getting a lot of different ideas and see how broad the world is. And the other aspect is I've noticed in some cultures, the culture leads with no first, right? It's not like, and the US and North America, I've noticed the culture leads with yes first. It's always like, yeah, you can do this. Let's figure out a way to make it work. As opposed to like some cultures, like, no, 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 you can't do this. Before they even think about it, it's the automatic response tends to be no. And then the US and Canada have found it's yes, but then let's figure out what are the roadblocks. How can we clean up the roads and make it possible for you, as opposed to even when you go to a government office, right? Like there's some places in the world when you go to the government office, the people are just kind of like, they start with a no. And then when you go to a government office at a lot of places, US, Canada, I've found people, one, are very polite and willing to help, like as long as the process is there, and even they go above and beyond. So which makes them great places to do business, right?
So true. US in this part is really, I would say, very transparent and easy to deal with. Most of the license or the requirement or the checklist, credential required for any kind of business, what I've been uh, helping for like over like 30 or more if different industry, and the US government, local government, federal government level are not, they don't create those rules just to limit a business. It's more like a helping the business and also helping the consumer. a lot of time I feel like in the beginning, uh, as a small business owner to just start, maybe feel like those requirement is very tedious or too burdensome. But after a while, you will realize actually it's a good way to preparing yourself to facing the market competition and to better prepare you to face the client request. It's actually one stone to kill two birds.
Okay. Amazing. So, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of questions come through. And as we are kind of finalizing, we're going to take a bit more time since we're late joining. But my next question is okay, what's next for Iche? Where, any thoughts like what do you see for yourself, your company, in the next couple of years? Which direction are you going in? Um, and then also, of course, what thoughts do you have on that when it comes to the global marketplace? Do you have any insights or things that you'd like to share with us from your experience? Let's hear a little bit about that, and then we can go towards finalizing.
Okay. Um, I would say AI, as many business owner may want to grab this opportunity. AI is truly a very powerful, um, especially for small business. I would say, it's really make the technology which is impossible in the past for small business. Now, we can using those tool to make our team or ourselves to be more efficient, effective, or touch to something that is impossible 2 years ago, but now it's become very cheap or it's achievable. And of course, I know there's a lot of the result may not be quite satisfactory, but if it's like treat it as a little kid, give it some time to like a parenting for a year or two. I think a lot of tools will become very suitable for the use case. And now we are using some of the AI tools as well in our business. And um, what I see is a lot of different industry are all applying the AI in their own field. And it could potentially redo every business, every industry. So that create a tremendous need, and also the market are expecting those. So I think that giving us like a small team around the world or small company uh, a huge opportunity to really grow and to even compete in a niche market with a mega player that which is impossible to compete in the past.
Wow, that's such a good perspective. I think, I mean, we see it everywhere, right? AI is everywhere these days. But it's also for good reason, right? You can now do things that were impossible to do just a few years ago. Um, yep. And you can also have very lean teams now, right? One person can, do a lot of manual things can be automated. So we're living in a very interesting, sometimes a bit overwhelming. It's the time in human history, but it's a great time to be alive. So let me refresh my feed one last time to see if there's any questions. I don't see any. So I would like to thank everybody that joined us today. I mean, if you are with us today, say thank you to Iche. Connect with him on LinkedIn. If you have any tax or accounting or how to open up a business in the US, or if you have any follow-up questions for him, please follow up, send him a message, and I'm assuming you'd be happy to respond and give you some feedback. And yeah, so thank you, Iche, so much for being with me today to do this session.
Thank you so much. Truly appreciate this opportunity, and I also want to thank Eugene, his group helping us to connect, and thus we can have this conversation to even become reality, and a lot of great mind actually can spark a lot of different opportunity. And thanks again, Jonas, for the for the chance for me to speak at this occasion.
Yeah, such a good point. I think people getting together is always, and those people who are connectors like Eugene are such a blessing to us. Also, thank you all for attending. Really appreciate you guys tuning in, and until we see each other next time. So this is the end of our stream today.